In the earlier lecture, we studied about database management system file system, means DBMS file system. In DBMS file system, we studied that DBMS is an interface between the user and the database files, and DBMS storage information of the database files, means how database files are stored in the disk or secondary memory, or what is the data format or what is the file format. These things are maintained by DBMS. User does not need to worry about these things. Now that is the reason it is too easy for the user to write programs to access data from the database files. Is simply write SQL queries. It is easy for the user. But in the flat file system, see, in the flat file system, database files maintained by user without DBMS, see, does not need to confuse here. The only concept we need to understand here is that in flat file system, DBMS is not an interface between user and database files, because as we saw in DBMS file system. So since DBMS is not an interface between the user and the database files, it is the responsibility of the user to maintain the database files, means storage information of the database files are maintained by the user here, because DBMS is not here present, is absent here. It is responsibility of the user to maintain database files, means how database files are stored in the disk, what is data format, what is file format. These things are maintained by the user itself. So see, user itself, database files are maintained by the user without DBMS. So it is difficult for the user to write program. The program will be complex here, because user is also have to take care how the database files are stored. So writing program here to access data from the database files is not easy. It is too complex. The user will have to use the system calls etc to access data from the database files. So in flat file system, writing program to access data from the database files by the user is too complex. For example, students who score greater than 80%, student who score greater than 80%, writing program for this by the user is too complex, because here the database management system is absent. It is totally responsibility of the user to manage these things. So it is difficult, and writing program in flat file system is too complex, and does not need to worry about other things. The only concept we need to understand here is that without DBMS, it is the responsibility of the user to maintain the database files. To access data from the database files, the program is too complex. The program is too complex here. Understood? And nothing here, see here, a small database. What is a small database? Flat file system can be used. For a small database, flat file system can be used when the database is huge. For the used database, flat file system failed to manage database. For the used database, flat file system failed to manage the database. Understood? And what is the user? We studied user everywhere. What is user? User can be database developer who develop the database, database administrator, DBA, and end users. User can be database developer, database administrator, DBA, and end user. This user can be database developer, database administrator, and end user. Thank you.